Aye.
Motion passed. Next up is the adoption of the previous minutes, which will be included in this meeting packet. I make a motion to adopt the minutes as published by Austin from the June board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Next up, we have public comments. Do we have anyone?
No one signed up.
No one is here for public comment. Okay. Then moving on, our first item of the business is the presentation of the public-private partnerships, which Councilman Eck has. We may want to,
Tom is not here right now, so I'm going to ask you guys to move on to unfinished business, and then we can come back to Tom whenever,
okay,
we can come back to Tom whenever he's here. You guys don't have to amend the agenda or anything.
okay.
As the chair, you can just go in the order that best suits
Gotcha.
the meeting.
All right, well, so in the interest of time, we will continue on our agenda and then come back when Councilman Eck is here. All right, our next section is unfinished business. Item number first is the consideration of the Native American acknowledgements, and that's something that Christina has been helping us research. As we know, as we're looking at signage, we also want to make sure we acknowledge the land usage of the areas around here as well as in the parks.
And you guys did previously approve this already, the actual, what it looked like.
Okay,
So my follow-up was to do something that was a little more, I don't know, I don't know what the word is, I'm sorry. I'm not loving the thing on the bulletin board out here, although I did see somebody reading things on the bulletin board Saturday, so it does get used, that's good. I have tried to contact the Catawba Nation. I did not get a response. I did try 5 times, I think, and so I quit doing that. My suggestion is to do more of a sign that's kind of lower to the ground. I think you and I talked about this, that just has our statement on it, and we put it here, wherever it seems appropriate, maybe at the front, or this entrance over near the Butterfly Garden. And then do 2 at Marvin Eford, 1 going to the barn and 1, on both sides of going to the barn from those 2 different parking lots. But they would be relatively small. I know that's hard to tell what that is. I don't know.
we have a
And they would
similar
just
sign
make-
out front, don't we, in front of the entrance here? It's kind of a metalish sign, is that
Yeah.
what you're thinking?
What form factor for the sign are you wanting, essentially?
Say that again?
What form factor for the sign are you?
I don't know
are
what
you
that
wanting?
means.
So like, we have those expensive displays coming for Houston Ross Park.
More like a stake in the
You know,
ground with
we
the
were,
sign, right?
I know Angel was suggesting to put the acknowledgement on the bulletin board. Like, how do you want it displayed? Because you want to make sure that it looks good, it's durable.
Right, so like a metal sign.
A metal
just-
sign in the ground, yes.
Yeah.
You mean like full U-channel post?
Well, no, I would do a little better post than that, but yeah. I mean, your face is telling me that that's worse than putting it on a bulletin board. I just feel like putting it on a bulletin board feels like an afterthought, and maybe this is, I
It's
guess.
just not something that's budgeted, so we'll have to
Yeah.
find money for whatever form factor you want the sign to look like. That's
I'm not talking about anything terribly expensive at all, a metal sign that's whatever that is, I don't know. But again, I guess obviously
It
it's
would be a
up to-
step up from like the butterfly sign, but not much more.
Yeah.
I mean, those,
But I know the sign pollution problem that we have, especially at this park, is an important thing to talk about.
I think you're just kind of saying kind of almost a monochrome, like a.
I was thinking
metal-
brown for some
yes,
reason. I
okay,
don't know
right,
why.
so it's
Like
not going to be flashy or.
National Park brown. Yeah. Yeah, it's not flashy. It doesn't have logos and things on it.
Yeah, I think I recall there was also, when you look at that place on the bulletin board, then all of a sudden you're kind of limited to just working within that little space. So,
Putting it at the top of it or something.
yeah, and there was a,
Title.
well, and I think there were even some comments, I think, Austin, that, that there was some intent that space would eventually be used for something else as well.
When we first built it, we thought about just putting letters up there to match the building, but we didn't have that budgeted. It wasn't a high priority. So
Okay.
it's just an unused space that we just never decided how we're actually going to use it. It's
Maybe
pretty.
it should say
It's,
Marvin's bulletin board, I don't know.
Maybe it'll become digital someday, right?
it's a bigger space than you thought. The only reason that I was sort of pushing it with you guys is it's a unique spot. It's not currently being used. If you wanted to do something at Marvin Eford Park, you could do the similar form factor and put it on the side of the barn.
Yeah,
It just depends on whatever you guys want to do. I just want to make sure we can actually do it within budget.
to be honest, I think, the Native Americans, having, used a lot of this land, I know in my neighborhood, you can find, arrowheads and things like that. But just, even raising the understanding of a lot of folks. So, whether it's here or whether it's Houston Ross Park, whether it's here or whether it's Marvin Eford Park, I think it's certainly something that's worthwhile doing, and I think maybe if we do something at Marvin Eford Park, you might have the opportunity to expand it a little bit more into something that is, not 5 different signs telling a story, but at least one that gives a little better, not just acknowledgement of their presence here, but just educating on, the 3 different types of, Native American folks that were inhabiting the area, and maybe a little bit about, exactly, so.
And we also talked about even the history of the Eford Park land, so perhaps, but it makes sense then to at least maybe find the cost of what the signage that Christina's proposing, and we know that we've got kind of more of a focus on Houston Ross right now, because we're trying to get all those pieces together, and at least start there, and then consider if that's appropriate, or just do consistency as far as.
Well, that was the other thing, it was
Yes.
trying to be consistent, which
Yeah.
is kind of hard to do between the 2 parks, right? And I'm talking 3 signs, because 2 for Marvin Eford, 1 for here, and they're just the acknowledgement signs. And I would love to do what you're talking about later. I think that would be great, especially at Marvin Eford, because there's room.
Yeah.
Here's gonna get a little busy, but that's all I'm talking about. I can't imagine the signs are much more than $50 a piece, but I can
Do you want
do them.
to draft something and send it to me?
No.
Okay,
Oh, well,
that'll be easier.
yeah.
Can go
I will
with you.
draw it and color it, which I should have done.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so last question. If, when Christina sends it to me, or you guys have already seen what it says,
The wording.
The wording
Yes.
we're good.
That's
do I
good.
need to bring this back to you guys, or when she sends it to me, can I just order this and get this installed?
Go ahead, John.
'Cause we've had- this is the
I
third
just
meeting
had
this is
one
going.
question about the wording, and does somebody have the wording there?
You guys approved that
Hold
a
up
couple,
again.
you guys approved that a couple meetings ago. It's in your packet. The wording you guys approved was, hold on.
Oh, she called it up for me, thanks. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, yeah, we acknowledge that we are this is the one, right?
I was
On
just
traditional
double checking
land.
it, and it's similar to what we've spoken about, yeah.
Yeah, that's very concise. Yeah.
I don't think we can do it in fewer words.
Yeah. Well, I was only thinking that if you have one sign and it's at Marvin Eford Park, you might be able to accompany it with, a little map, of where they typically went, or, things like that. Just if you're making a sign with one board, you can have that acknowledgement with, maybe a paragraph and a
So I would
photo or
love to
something.
do that. I can't get that information easily, and I don't want to make it up. I don't mean make it up. I don't want to guess at it and be wrong
Yeah,
for a lot of reasons. So I know that we're safe to do, well, I assume that we're safe to do the acknowledgement. And
Sure.
then we can go from there. And maybe that, once we've done that, maybe that will get enough attention to say, we'd like to do a little bit more with this.
yeah, I remember, I think it was when my girls were little, I think they might have had a display at Museum of the Waxhaws. So that might be a good source, but if we're just kind of taking a step here now to delay it a little bit for some other reasons, might give us a little time to investigate that as well.
So, direction. You're gonna work on a design. Do I need to bring it back to the board again?
That's what we're asking. Do we need to bring it back in August?
I think as a group, we're consistent with the language here. Any feedback as far as directionally going towards the signs in the ground? Do we want to review this again in August, or just go forward?
I like the wording. I was fine with it on the bulletin board, but I also don't object to it being on a separate sign, so I don't need to see it again. I mean, whatever, surprise me.
Yes.
The one thing about the wording, and Deb just mentioned this to me, and physically I hadn't seen it because you kind of read it, native lands acknowledgement, and then we acknowledge, having acknowledged there kind of almost twice in the same thing. And I don't know if maybe it's just taking the first three words and underlining them, or, you know, kind of setting them apart.
Native lands recognition, and then we acknowledge that
Yeah,
we are
separate
on
words.
traditional land.
Just rather than saying acknowledge twice, she
think
just
the
brought that
recognition
up, and it was a good
Native
point.
lands recognition.
I will defer to Christina on this.
Okay, I'll figure something out.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I just.
No, good eyes. I mean, anything else on this one then? So topic is that Christina will research the cost of those smaller signages.
She doesn't need to do the cost, I just need the design. I
Design,
can
okay,
take
design,
from
and we're
there.
going to potentially revisit the wording on the acknowledgement and recognition to clean that up.
Okay.
And we do not need to bring it back to the August. I feel like the board is comfortable, right, moving forward? Okay,
Yeah, as long as we have one,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
either of those environments
okay,
is fine.
good. Then we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the overall discussion of Houston Ross Park projects and landscaping. I know in one of the embedded attachments from Jill, there's some more discussion, but this is just kind of as a whole, we're seeing a lot of good progress on the park, but we also recognize we've got some major, you know, I guess, pieces to be completed, the water piece, the overall pergola, some benching. So as a whole, I want to talk about where we are, what we're seeing as far as progress, and then also in light of the September date of the opening, we want to make sure that, are we comfortable with everything being at a place that we want to have presentable to the public, since this is the first time we're bringing folks in?
Please keep in mind that Jill is not here,
Right.
so
Yeah.
any details need to be relayed to her that if you're changing anything. To my understanding, she's pretty much got this wrapped up in a bow, but to just
No,
let me
no.
know whatever changes you're
Acknowledge,
making.
right.
That's not.
Right, we're not trying to change the date, but we want to make sure as we get to the date that we have everything, that we're comfortable that this is what we're going to be, you know, again, presenting to the community, that it is the park that we've now.
Just one thing that was mentioned at council last night is that they are moving forward. You mentioned issues from a water perspective and the well struggling, you know, but they are creating a separate line into the municipal water, so that they also have that as an option to supplement what we're doing with the well.
So to irrigate.
Yeah, for irrigation purposes when needed, you know. I think that's the case, or,
Yes, the
Yeah.
well, I think we're down to what, 5,000 gallons every, I can't remember the time interval, but it's, the well's failing. So
Yeah,
we gotta go to a water tap.
Okay.
So Austin, I have Jill's present, she's got her summary pulled up now, maybe we can, if it's okay, I can read some of her updates, because that's kind of the topics we were going to cover. Is that, I mean, it's not out of order, because she has in her listing when the target dates are for things to be completed, which is what we wanted to cover
Okay,
here.
does she give a report for this, or are you on the
Yeah, no,
event,
it's-
are
it's
you on the
a-
event
It's an
planning?
attachment in her section under.
Are you going down to event planning report?
I guess, yes, that's the report I'm pulling up, but that's because that feeds into the discussion here. But I think just because I want to make sure we're inventorying all the key items in the park, and the first one being the water feature, or the water harvesting feature, which says it's on target for 9/1, September 1st. And the question, any questions on progress there, or I don't know, is that tied to the well or the irrigation? No, that's a standalone project.
Water feature will start July 27th.
July 27th is the start, completion by the first
It's
of.
supposed to be 9/1.
We are on a tight time schedule with the ribbon cutting.
Right.
Signage should be done in time. I talked to the vendor for that the other week, but there's a lot of moving parts, and we're working to make sure we're done in time.
So I can make this quicker, because
Yes.
I sort of started this. There, obviously, we can make the 9/26, it's 9/26, right, date work for the ribbon cutting. We can obviously make that work, but it will be extra work that will be for show, not for real, to make it look okay. I asked Matt this morning, we still do not have responsibility for this park. So the weeds are still what they are. I can't do, and he can't do anything about that butterfly garden. That's, looks like death. All we'll be able to do, once we get it, it will still be August or July or whatever. So there's no planting or fixing that butterfly garden up until the fall. We can fake it a little bit, but that's just extra work. That's not, I mean, it's not that it's not real, but it's not long-term. It's just extra work to make it look pretty for that day kind of thing. which is, there will be a lot of work for both park staff and, I guess, for volunteers, let's call it that, to get it looking okay. It's not going to look great on September 26th. There's no way around it. The pond will probably look awesome because, it's rocks and water. I mean, it'll look good. But the plants and all that kind of stuff, it is not going to look great. Later, like maybe in the spring, it will. But
Yeah.
it's new. We've had a rough summer. That park is behind a little bit. I think they're fixing lights right now, as a matter of fact. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. I have talked to Jill. She's fine with all of that, with us proposing that we change the date. But I'm just putting it on the table, that I think it needs to be up for discussion, that it's a lot of work to,
Yeah, so Christina, the work,
Hit that
so
date.
what you're saying is the public works can't go in today and start doing anything with it because it's not been handed over. So even if you
Right.
see something, it's really, we're just part of the contract, we can't get involved.
I mean, we can,
can,
but
but we're
then
not-
we
We've got a smaller and smaller time
Yes.
frame.
Yeah,
Number
right.
one. But also, I think there has to be the acknowledgement that, when you're doing a project of this size and scope,
this is normal.
it's not going to look finished.
Oh, that, yeah.
When it just goes, we try to focus on native plants and, things that come back year after year. If you just wanted to, you could put a whole bunch of annuals in there and make it look prettier,
But you
but that's
can't do
just
that right
wasting
now.
the money. And-
Right, that's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah.
I can make it look okay for the 26th, but it will be stuff that I will then turn around and rip out.
Yeah, no,
basically.
I don't think we really need to do that. I think, there's an acknowledgement, at least among council and everything, that, this is part of a process, and, we don't even necessarily, I think we've done this with projects in the past where, you're so intent on doing all these things and making it look pretty, and then you end up finding out what you really need to do afterward, whereas if you first waited a little bit and just kind of seen how things kind of come along, I think that's a far better long-term strategy,
Okay.
Or is there any plans for the wild patch by the road that has the, poison ivy in
So
it?
that is one of the things on the list, yeah. Matt and I have been discussing, I call it the rough, in a nod to golfers. That whole area up by the road, I would say it's 50% plus invasive species, so it needs to be pulled, it needs to be eradicated. I don't want to do it right this minute, because it's a lot of poison ivy. Nobody wants to do it right this minute. Well, we can't do it right this minute because we're not responsible for this property yet. So once that's done, that is on the list of things that we're gonna cut back and probably mulch for now and then plant stuff in there later. But for right now, that's what it's gonna look like. And maybe by the end of September, the goldenrod will at least be blooming. But this is what to be expected. Right there, the dead thing. Yeah, so I want it in the record that the reason that it is dead is because it sat underwater for 2 months. Literally sat underwater. And
Why was it so flooded? We haven't had any rain? What happened?
thank you, because my
The
opinion.
irrigation
that-
drainage
thank
all
you.
kind of came to this one lower spot.
Yeah, and drained out into the parking lot and all that.
Didn't go to the
and-
rain garden.
It didn't go to the rain garden, no, it did not go to the rain garden, which is about half alive too. So about,
Is the pondscaping going to fix that?
No.
it'll change it though, is
make
my
it
guess.
worse, potentially?
No, I don't know, no, because now we have a French drain that is hauling that water off, and I didn't look today, I can't believe I didn't do that. It must be okay, because I would have seen standing water. So that French drain seems to be working to keep that from happening. But
Again, yeah.
anything that's alive over there is like super plant, and there are some things that are alive. But
Put them
it
in the rain
looks
garden.
awful. Even by my standards, it looks awful.
Okay, so by the 26th, obviously, I guess what we're saying, Christina, you're raising the concern about the kind of more the landscaping and the plants. There's also the components of the park too. Like, it sounds like everyone's working their hardest to get those in place, because I think, John, what you're saying is, we know things are work in progress, but obviously we have to have, the signage has to be there, otherwise there's no history acknowledgement, right? So I think, do we have some bare minimum that if the signage were to get delayed, we don't want to have a grand opening with nothing, with the Houston Ross signage out there? I mean, is that kind of the minimum that has to be in place, or at a minimum, benches, pergola, I mean, just to make sure that we know things could slip, but we don't want to just go to the bare bones, right?
Just keep in mind that promos for the ribbon cutting will begin beginning in August, so they're starting very,
That's why I
very
brought
soon.
it up today.
Right, so is there any, I mean, again, just as a group, is there feedback? Do we agree we at least have to have the signs in place? I mean, or what is the minimum that's going to be, I mean, could we go out there today and have a ribbon cutting, or are there things that we would say has to be available?
Or is that a Jill question, or is it
Well, but
somebody else
I guess I'd like the
question?
opinion of PRG though, too,
Yeah,
right?
it's,
Because
it's
we're
hard
just-
for me to speak on behalf of council
know,
on all of this. You know, when discussions had been made earlier about pushing the date back, there seemed to be a lot of pushback about that for,
Do you know why?
I'm not even sure why, other than I know that they did float some dates with the folks from Marvin AME Zion, and, you know, they had already kind of coalesced around a certain date, so I think it was more just targeting that date and not wanting to, I don't know, disappoint them or anything like that.
Acknowledge that if folks are coming in, and I think that's what they do with their extended family, people are traveling in, we wouldn't want
Correct.
to change a date because of that. But I think,
Yeah.
like I said, I just want to make sure we're all comfortable to stand behind, here's our new park, we're cutting it, do we have anything that looks different than it looks like today? And I believe we will, because it sounds like you're saying, Austin, the signage is maybe having some timing, or is it?
Signage is fine,
Okay.
it's already in production.
Okay,
That part should be in no problem, it's just, there's like 50 cooks at the kitchen with the park right now, so there's a lot going on, there's a lot of moving parts. We're managing it all well, it's just a matter of doing things in the right order so one person's work doesn't get undone to do something else. So it's progressing, but it's going to be tight.
okay. So the signage, I think, is like, it's the minimum we want to have. The water feature is a nice to have, because it obviously takes up a big chunk of the landscape too, correct? I mean, that's a.
Yeah, but if it's
If it's already started, it would
Yeah,
be
if it's-
unfortunate to do a ribbon cutting while that's still torn up.
Yeah, where you got an excavator in the middle of the,
It's going to look really rough over there for a while once they start that. Once it's done and Todd's put out, it'll look fantastic.
no,
but-
and that's one of the things about a pond feature. Once he's finished with it, it's going to look great most, I mean, there will be some turf that's missing or whatever, greenery around it.
It might
but-
not be the same shade of green, you know.
Yeah, it might not be the same shade of green, but it's the day before it's done. It's still going to look rough,
Okay.
you know, and all the days before that.
And that's scheduled to be done by 9/1, so that's 3 weeks before the ribbon cutting. So-
And I have no worries that Brad can, with Pondscapes, can get it done, but things happen. They already have.
Weather happens.
Well, it can rain.
I was gonna say, it'll start, as soon as he does that, it'll start raining, turn that
It will.
whole thing into a mud.
It'll be like
mud
Noah's
puddle.
flood here. Yeah, so anyway, I just propose that it's a lot of people doing a lot of work to get ready for a date that is just a date. That is not maybe the best date. And I know we want to get it done and check the box and all that stuff, but I also want to present a really nice-looking park to everyone that is going to cut a ribbon, you know, instead of half-dead grass and a very dead bunch of flowers.
So the problematic part is that, you know, how do we call moving the date? I mean, if promotion is gonna go out in a few weeks, we don't have a lot of time. Do we
I
have
can-
one
I
more
can
meet-
look-
Do
I
we have
can-
one more meeting before promo goes out?
Well,
I don't
I
think
think
you have
we'll
that.
have an update as well when we have our work session, which is going to be coming up in a few weeks, and Jill will be here, and Jill has a better handle on the coordination of all of these moving parts, and at that point, we'll have another,
So,
when is that date, Austin, for the work session? Is it 2 weeks away, 1
a
week?
work session.
We don't have a work session?
Don't have a work session in July, no, because we moved
So
the
it'll be
July regular meeting.
so
to
it'll be
middle of
the August, first meeting in
the-
August,
Their
regular
August,
meeting.
so you'll have the August regular meeting, PRG's the next morning, first promo goes out the day after PRG.
Okay.
So
Well, then I guess we'll make it.
But Jill's back next week,
right?
yeah?
Jill is back next week, so she'll be available.
And,
for
and we'll
questions.
make sure it's on the agenda, just, you know, status of where we're at
For
with
your meeting,
everything.
which is proceeding.
It'll be part of Jill's event planning update regardless.
Can
Just-
you interrupt promo with that short of notice?
I don't, well, yes, I just don't want to post a date and then change the date.
No, I do not want to do that.
People
No.
get angry when I do that.
No,
But
I
think-
don't
Do we
want you
want
to
to,
do
I guess
But
I
as
would.
long as it's just stuff that we can change, like social media or whatever, it's not stuff that's.
Just keep in mind,
set for print.
if you guys give direction, if council and you guys give direction to look at a different date, in August, and then it doesn't work for the descendants group,
Yeah, I understand.
then I can't start promoting. So,
Just the one thing I'd also say from promotion, yes, we want to promote this and we want to celebrate the opening to some degree, but we're going to have the same issues parking-wise and things like that.
there'll be a shuttle.
Well, there is, is there a shuttle?
A shuttle. There's going to be a shuttle
elementary
from
school?
Marvin Eford for here. For
And the
people
Oh,
west.
I thought it was from Marvin AME Zion. I thought they had their own shuttle
That's
bus.
just for the descendants.
For their
Okay,
family.
okay. I didn't know we had a separate shuttle from Marvin Eford.
Yeah, Jill booked us a shuttle bus. It'll be running just from Marvin Eford back and forth. So people can park there because there's tons of parking, and they'll come here. So yeah, so if the date is going to change, prefer to know sooner rather than later.
Of course,
Yes.
But,
that's
yeah.
why I brought
Right,
it up.
and I think
The unfortunate thing is we really don't know until things happen.
But that's why, I guess I'd like to have some, what is the minimum criteria to say?
I
mean,
think you're right.
So absolutely have to have a sign, water feature, as long as there's not an excavator in the middle. I mean,
Water feature needs
so
to
I'd
be
like
done.
to hear
Once it's
from,
started, water
what
feature
can- what
must
can
be
we put
done.
as criteria, so that when we have the meeting, we say, this is what we, at least a recommendation from PR&G of what we think has to be. I understand there's variable with the plants, and we maybe have to accept some of it, but some things, I think not
I
having.
don't think you guys need to do a formal recommendation on this, but my suggestion would be signs in, it can't look like a war zone over there with the
No
water
heavy
feature. So
equipment, right?
signs and water feature done, and have a Band-Aid over the landscaping, essentially. I think that's probably your minimum.
Okay, anything related to seating, the shaded area, just because, again, do we think that's an expectation?
That's Public Works, they can do that relatively quickly.
I also
That's
Their
what I'm not
problem
worried
is that
about.
they're balancing with the water feature
Yeah.
and all the heavy equipment with that too.
So that one's going to, the seating's going to be dependent upon the water feature. So,
Okay,
just getting equipment in and out of sight.
okay. So we hear signage, no major disruptive constructive equipment, and some support, because then there's some funding that's gonna be needed if we have to put some pots and things to look better than we look today. So that might be a slight budget need, or we pull things out of our yards and.
No, but if you're gonna do a mock-up garden, basically, you gotta go get the pretty stuff that's blooming.
blooming right now.
Yeah,
Right.
blooming then, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so it'll be as.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
No.
I mean, you know,
So
Lot
you're
of
not digging it out of
asters.
the yard. Yeah, a lot of
Is-
asters.
Christina, is your group with Angel and the Descendants and the Historical Society, are y'all still meeting?
I have not been
Okay.
aware of any meetings, so.
So I can give Angel a call today and just kind of update her. So just note that you guys are thinking bare minimum, make the plants look as best as we can, have the signs in, and have the water feature done, and that'd be the absolute bare minimum. Because we can get by without the pergola day.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
But that's not gonna be the problem. Pergola's not gonna be the problem.
Okay. And I can follow up with Angel too either way, but I think that just to set the expectation, so I also know then there's going to be an update that Jill will prepare for your council meeting, and that's going to be based on what the status is of the things we've just talked about, right? So that on August 3rd or 4th, when we meet, we'll have these criteria, we can, I guess, validate that this is where we
The
expect it
problem
to
is,
be.
I mean, and I agree with you 100% to say these are the bare minimum things that need to be ready for us to have this ribbon cutting, but we're not gonna know.
You're not going to know in August.
No, you're not gonna know in August whether those things are,
Because
Whether
your
the
water feature,
Pondscapes is gonna get delayed.
because water feature's not going to be until September 1st.
yeah, that's
So
what- at best.
in reality, you guys are probably not going to have a meeting to say, crap, we're not done, we got to move it. So,
And that's why I brought it up today to say, my suggestion personally,
Would be
having
move
been
it anyway.
involved in, is to put this thing off. But I get, if not, and we'll take the war zone version and say, hey, next year this park's gonna look great. We'll enjoy it.
personal,
Well, I'll
rec-
do an illustration.
Yeah, you'll draw one.
my personal recommendation for you all would just be to defer to Jill. If we're at this point and things aren't done, let her make the call,
Yeah, but
and
I-
then
but
she can work it out with.
But in fairness to Jill, though, I mean, I'm saying, isn't this a recommendation from our board? I mean, Jill's managing the project, of course, but don't we need to go to council and say we feel whatever we're feeling?
So
mean,
I have talked to Jill, and she needs a recommendation. At least that's my understanding. Because she's fine to do whatever, whenever.
If it's
whatever
that
day.
tight, I would recommend that we push it unless there are super constraints, like people have already booked tickets to come into town. or
Yeah, they're
something
coming
like
from
that.
Arizona, and they've
I
got a
mean,
plane
if
ticket.
that's the case, then obviously I'm not going to mess with that, especially the way airline tickets or anything, travel is right now, even if it's not that far. But barring any conflicts like that, to present our best product, it seems ideal to push it off a little bit if our schedule is this tight.
So just to keep the conversation moving, if you guys are going to recommend a different date, when?
And how much
Just so I can-
buffer do we want to do? I mean, are we talking a month, 2 months? I mean, not within this year, within the calendar year?
I would not push into November. I would
So
not go
perhaps
past October.
give ourselves another month at best.
I think if you keep in October, you're fine. There's just going to be a lot going on because we have trick or treat that month. We have Arbor Day. You push into November, you're pushing into people's holiday schedules and travel with Thanksgiving, and you're going to cannibalize attendance. You're not going to get the people you want to get.
I can say that from the planting perspective, I would think by the middle of October, we would be able to have our fall planting done, right? So they would be little plants, but they would be live.
Yes. And also, with the
Not
shift
dead.
in weather to fall, if the pondscapes guy got delayed because we end up with actual rain for a while, the shift in weather would give him additional time somewhere
Yeah.
in there to finish it. Certainly, we would have some kind of shift.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, pushing it off a month.
So my
We
recommendation,
obviously can't go more than that, so.
I don't even think you guys could probably go a full month. I know that our calendar's already starting to book up with just things at that time of year. You've got Arbor Day on Saturday, the 24th, with trick or treat the day before on the 23rd. Halloween is the following Saturday. So you're either pushing early October or you're trying to push into November. And if you do, don't go beyond the first half of the month.
So like the 4th or the 11th of October? I mean, or whatever, the first 2 weeks of October is perhaps where that gives us,
You,
Well, we could do the weekend before Arbor Day.
which is.
The only thing you've got going on that weekend here is there is an event. We're doing a bulk collection for like a bulk waste here at Village Hall that morning. So you can't do the 17th because we'd be getting set up here for that.
The 10th perhaps then? Would that be?
Are you saying that November the 7th is complete, that's just, or is that our last possible date?
I mean, we can make a different date work. I'm just saying the closer you get to Thanksgiving, the harder it's going to be to get to a lot of
100%,
people's
yeah.
schedules. I don't have anything on our calendars here for. Hold on, let me check to make sure we don't already have rentals in the building that day. 'Cause that's one other thing we got to think about.
Yeah, really?
What, does it need to, is it a Saturday or something, like, does it need?
Saturday.
It has to be a
yes.
Saturday? Halloween.
November 7th is a Saturday.
I would say if you're pushing into November, don't go past November 14th, 7th, and the 14th.
The 7th and the weather's
I
still
don't have an issue with that date. There's nothing in the calendar. Do you guys want to suggest that?
Okay. And I think we'd rather, if we're going
And it'll probably snow.
to move it out, at least we don't move it out. If it's too close, we're not gaining a whole lot. This gives us at least
Exactly.
6 weeks of, towards completion.
And I promise that the fall plants will be in by then.
Yes.
Or
Okay.
I will go find some and plant them.
Okay, so everyone good with November 7th?
I am.
I am.
Yeah, I guess the question is, are we looking at recommending that right now as kind of the backup date, depending on where we see things, when we get our update that first week of August?
I think we're kind of recommending it, just if council buys in and it doesn't create a huge problem for the incoming visitors, I think we should just do it, because if we delay and have it as like a backup date, like, we won't have the information to know we're
Yeah.
switching to the backup
Our
date
confidence level's not going to
early
increase.
enough
Yes.
to change
It's just more
promo
stress.
and whatever, so we.
So just make sure that I can talk to Angel too, but just make sure you formally reach out to Angel to have that conversation.
The council won't be able to formally make this decision until their August meeting. So
And
at that point, it's pretty much, we're breaking glass. We're saying it's an emergency, it's not going to be done in time, we're moving it now. So I'll have that on their agenda, I can have that on their agenda, or have Jill formally update them, but we'll move with November 7th for now, as
that's our that's
the board's recommendation.
that's our
Based on what I'm
recommendation.
hearing here today, it sounds very likely that we are going to end up not presenting an optimal product if we continue with the
Oh,
September 26th.
100%.
I mean, it sounds like it's got lots of potential to be really ugly and wish we had moved it, so we
And
should
my
be
main-
proactive about moving it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if it's done early, then we just have more time to,
Pretty.
refine.
My main impetus for this was the stress around just talking about it. And with various people, just like Austin says, so many people are involved in this, which is exactly normal. But just the stress of all the things that have to get done, all the moving parts, and if you give it a little bit more time, that stress level just dissipates. There's enough stress. We don't need to add.
So
And feel like we're
just to
making
get a formal recommendation, would someone mind making a motion to recommend rescheduling the Houston Ross Park ribbon cutting to Saturday, November 7th, 2026?
So moved.
All in favor?
Amen,
Aye. Motion passed.
whatever we say.
All right, thank you, Christina, and thank you for the discussion. I think the confidence level that we balanced on the risk was important for this.
So after this, I will talk to Lehman, I'll talk to Jill, I'll talk to Angel, and we'll go from there.
We're all going to talk to Angel.
Yeah, Carly, she's gonna get a lot of phone calls.
She's not going to answer the phone anymore.
Okay, all right, next, thank you. On to new business, and we're back in another conversation around Houston Ross Park. And this was a piece that talked about, I know we're talking signage, but as we know, the entrance to what is the preserved trail is now, accessible from the park. I do want to make comments. I've had.
And being used, apparently.
Yes, I was going to say, several of my neighbors, I know Christina's run into some folks, are really enjoying that trail because of the shade, especially this time of year, and then the natural surface. So I have been getting feedback now that folks can park here and access it. I think that's been a great discovery. But a lot of folks, obviously, if they're not pointed, walk into the park and don't know where to go. And I realize the park is still work in progress, but we do need to have some signage at the entrance of the trail so that folks know that it is how you access what we're calling the preserved trail. So I want to make sure we have budget somehow into our trail signage, because we do need to acknowledge where a trail is accessible.
Are you, for a sign, are you talking about 16 by 24?
Just a
something like
sign, and like we do in front of the Amber Meadows Trail, anywhere else on our greenways. And that's kind of, I know that's not this specific topic, but I do believe we need to go back and look at the consistency of all of our greenways.
So we don't have entrance signs currently?
But there's something in front of the Amber Meadows that lets you know that it's a trail. I mean, I can't remember now off the top of my
Is
head.
it just the natural wildlife habitat sign that's there? I haven't seen that trail in just a while, so I don't know what's
But I
there.
mean, you know that you know when you're walking on it, that you're not just walking
Into
into something.
Into somebody's driveway,
Exactly.
honestly.
Likewise, when you
Yeah.
go into the Tullamore Trail, there's a dog station, and I can't recall, I walk by it all the time, but I just feel that we need to have signs.
feel like
that
we need one of
folks
those.
that Or a greenway, a dog station would be good too.
So, full disclosure, we are currently working with the preserve neighborhood on a slew of issues related to that trail. I can put this on their radar. I don't know if this is something the council would want. I'm not going to speak for the council, John, but I know we're in discussions with them now.
Well, I guess my thought is that regardless of what gets worked out with Preserve, I know Angel's having some conversations with them based on some pending litigation. But my understanding is that there's going to be access from the village hall regardless to that trail. So I think what we're talking about here is just something that identifies when you're here at Village Hall
Yeah.
where the trail is.
You see that
we're gonna-
gravel off to the
Now,
side.
now again, because of the litigation that's pending and so forth, maybe we don't want to make that investment yet, but
Yeah, just exactly, like a minimum, and again, I'll go back and see what we have in front of Amber Meadows and the other, we even have one in Eford Park, but again, going back to consistency, we need to let folks know that they're on a greenway, that they're not on a,
Well, yeah, I mean,
Somebody's driveway.
as you're
Yes.
walking up here,
Right.
on the concrete, you pass that gravel bit. And, is that a maintenance,
yeah.
is that, is that for maintenance, or is that actually for people?
yeah,
Not that maintenance aren't people.
Send me what that sign looks like, I can make it.
I'll take some pictures around.
Just keep in mind, you're saying for consistency, we don't have any village signs on other trails except the no motor vehicles. So is this something that we're talking about putting on all the trails?
Well, I think that's a discussion that we have been having already for a number of different reasons. I think there was, at one point, we were talking about having the trails so that, they would be identified and people would know how long they actually ran. I think in other cases, we've talked about identifying it because we want to make sure that people are aware of some of the restrictions in terms of e-bikes and things like that. So, the conversation around signage and, has come around a number of times for different reasons. again, we don't want to have 5 different signs at every trail entry because we're trying to satisfy everything. But I think eventually that is something that we at least, you know, we're investing in these paths and greenways, not just at the preserve, but I'm talking about largely everywhere else. And, you know, there should be some identification, because we also run into situations in some cases where Village of Marvin trails might be near or adjacent to,
Private.
you know, private trails that are within a neighborhood, you know? So,
I understand, I do want to note that we did make signs previously for this, and the council just ended up reducing them down to just no motor vehicles. I can either pull a sign I already made and try again, or if you want to send me something, I can make it.
Yeah, let's look at what we have, but and John, I appreciate what you're saying. I'd like to actually add this to our next meeting's agenda, because I think it's a topic I'd like to see revisited. And if anything, I know we have sign guidance, but perhaps, and I've seen this in other municipalities, I know Chapel Hill has a very good policy around how they identify their trails. I mean, they want to recognize the usage of their trails, they want to recognize what their town is investing in, and I think maybe as a whole, PRNG should have some guidance or policy on how we identify our.
yeah, I think it's a
assets.
conversation we probably have to have at the council level again. So Austin, I'd ask that you put that on the agenda. And then that way, we'll have a discussion about it at our next meeting, and then I can report back.
Thanks, John.
So do you want me to use the design like I previously had, or do you want me to make something new based on what's at Amber Meadows?
Let me go
or
take a few
Tullamore?
things. I'll look at what Amber Meadows has. I also, like I said, I've seen some other municipalities where they have some guidance on the size of their sign, just to kind of benchmark us against other communities that don't have, you know, we're not talking the Mecklenburg Greenway, we're just saying, what does the small town signage looks like too? But I just want to, again, first off, because we have the park access here, and even in our website, we acknowledge that the preserve trail starts here, but now you don't know where it starts. You might think it's now the new sidewalk and then end up on Newtown Road. So I think it's important to direct folks there.
It dumped right out onto Newtown Road right now.
Yeah, so,
Christina, I'll wait to hear from you on that, and then I'll work on something.
okay, thank you. All righty, so now we're on to reports and updates, so.
And just one thing real quick, I did share an exchange with Tom.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to be here, so Austin,
I'll table it.
we'll table it and put it on our next meeting.
Thanks, John. So for Jill's report, we have the attachment. Do you want to read through it, or should I? I mean, how would you like to
It's
present it?
she's really not looking for any board feedback. This is really just to provide y'all an
Okay.
informational update.
Okay,
So if you want to talk about anything, you can, but she's good to go, essentially.
I think a couple of things, just because I know we've talked about where PRNG can get involved as far as either promoting or volunteering. I think it's just a good reminder for us to go through her list. I can just kind of highlight what we have here is that the car show is this coming weekend, the 18th, right? We didn't miss that yet. So that's coming up from 8 to 12. It sounds like we've got the public works staff and folks supporting it, but again, if folks from PRNG want to be involved, right?
It really doesn't need volunteers.
Okay.
This isn't our event. This is put on by First Class
Okay.
Cars. They have their people staffing this. They bring in the vendors. They do it all. The only thing that our guys are doing is really just assisting with parking on site.
Okay.
If you want to volunteer, I don't know what they can have you do, but Jill's not going to be there to direct you guys. It's
Okay.
just the vendor.
You can go look at the cars.
Okay.
Have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that's kind of plug and play
Good.
where.
It's
where
really
we
cool the
don't
way
need
they've
one.
got it all set up. It
Do,
really is.
but I guess maybe here you go, talk it up amongst your friends and neighbors. That's what we can do to promote this, because it is a great event.
Not even sure you
And
have to
if
do
you
that.
haven't been there,
Yes.
it was, I went to the last one, it was really nice, it was a great event.
I assume that we do charge a fee for the usage of this?
No.
We
This
do
is
not.
this is a complete, we don't charge a fee because we benefit from just people being there, visibility. It's something that we can promote, it does them good. And so no, this is just no money's changing hands here between us and them.
Okay,
And other than the parking assist thing, it really doesn't cost us,
Okay.
you know.
Where do they do this? In that, almost to the end parking lot? The one near the shed? On that shed?
It's kind of all along, so it's off on the fields to the right,
Oh,
mostly.
okay.
yeah.
Kind of line
Okay.
up along the right.
And then along the road, they've got
Okay.
them kind of stacked.
okay. It just seems like an opportunity to have usage, but that's all right, free is good. National Night Out is, the reason I'm bringing it up is it's on the Tuesday of our board meeting, what we have in the morning, but I know as a whole, we typically volunteer for that, so I want to make sure everyone's aware.
We've got to make sure the vegetarian is making the hot dogs.
Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like PRG would like to be
I'll
involved with
assist
the
as
hot
well.
dogs and the grills. And do we have,
She
Young
says
Men's Service League
Firethorn
will
has
be there? Yep.
given us the grill, so I assume we are
Okay.
doing the dogs. Because I know there had been talk about dogs, pizza, this or that.
But I think it was about the grill, so.
Yeah,
if we
I
got
think
the
a lot of it
grill,
was
then
about the
we're
grill.
clear.
So
got the
we've got the grill,
grills.
we got the dogs.
Okay, and then Jill's coordinating the volunteers with the Young Men's.
Young Men's Service League is handling that. I talked to them Saturday,
Okay.
Sunday, whatever day, Sunday.
Anything else then? So for us just to be present, and I forgot, last time we talked about, is there any other kind of promotional things we're going to put there? Maybe not. At one point, we talked about,
This event is widely successful. It's
Yes.
one where, frankly, we've had to do very little promotion, and a lot of people come to this.
Yeah,
Well, I think what Christina was referring, I think in one of our past discussions, it was, do we prepare promotional material to put on display at this that sort of
since we have
highlights,
an audience.
like, what PRNG does, or upcoming events, or something like that.
Yeah, that was the talk, and also
I
I
mean,
think,
it may be a
yeah.
little short to prepare that for this one, but we
Right.
had talked about,
Yeah, I think we might have
boosting
talked, when
ourselves.
we first had this initial conversation about at least having a table for PRG, and I think extending the opportunity even to Habitat builders if they
I'm
wanted to
sending
do
Jill a
something there.
message right now about that.
Yeah, so I think we did discuss that previously, just having
You
something.
guys didn't give direction. You guys brought that up during your event planning discussion when you were going through all the events of the year, but we haven't received direction at staff level to prepare anything for that.
Okay,
So
but if we just put a table and stood behind, I'm saying, maybe just a question, I mean, I'm happy to help staff, but just Q&A about what are our greenways, what's our, by then our master plan hopefully is published or something, just, we've tried to talk about engagement, it seems like a good place to,
engage.
make us tight and stand behind it.
Because I think many people don't know we exist and certainly don't know what we do.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but if people want to ask,
So if we could
how do you rent the barn or the
Right.
pavilion or something, we've got
Yes.
somebody,
So if we could
more of
prepare
just an information table.
I'll let Jill know.
Okay. And
I was
then,
gonna say, if we can prepare something that doesn't put more burden on
No,
staff right
exactly.
at
I'm
the
just
moment and with
amongst
short
ourselves.
notice, I think that, yeah,
next to the
that
grill
would be a
while you
great
two
thing.
are standing there, perhaps Deb and I and Michael could, or, I mean, if y'all are gonna, if we're gonna be there, I mean, I'm happy to stand and at least just, so folks know who to ask questions about. That's the thing, it's like you go there, you don't know who's on, I mean, staff, but you don't know the parks and greenways. So let's try and set up a table and at least
Yeah, we can
have
get a table
some.
and chair and put a little
just
8.5
what's-
by 11.
Yeah, hey, the Houston Ross
PRG.
Park is gonna open, things like that. Here's our greenways.
And Austin, you can let Jill know, we'll coordinate that,
Yeah, nothing
just so
on
it's
staff,
not
it's-
something added to her thing, to her list at the last minute.
We should have plenty of tables too. I'll just double check whether.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of tables there.
Okay. So that is the evening of the 4th, and like I said, we'll have our board meeting in the morning, so we can do our last minute check-in on that. And then we talked about Houston Ross, the ribbon cutting, and then the fitness court, which, again, I don't know, John, do you have an update you want to share, or who wants to share that?
Jill said she wasn't ready for to discuss this yet
Okay.
because there's still council stuff going on. But John, if you want to say anything, you can, but there's not much for the board to do now.
Yeah, just that from the initial email that we got, that we were awarded potentially, if we choose to accept it, a $35,000 grant. It's actually the highest award that's been awarded to date within North Carolina. Now, $35,000, as we've seen with any project, that could get eaten up by engineering or planning or anything like that. So while it is very generous and perhaps a good seed if we choose to accept it, there's got to be some conversations amongst council, in the list and measure of other priorities, and then also where would it be, and all those other questions that we'd have to answer. But we haven't, because Jill wasn't at our meeting last night, we haven't had a formal conversation about it other than this email we all received. But it's good news that we're being recognized and being offered these types of grants and things like that. And we'll continue to look for others. I know Tom also mentioned he had some conversations, I think, with the National Fitness Foundation. And there was some conversation yesterday. There's a group of men that meet F3 or something like that. They meet at different areas, and they don't use formal, training things or stuff like, they all just get together and work out. It's kind of a loose group. They do it early mornings. They had been doing it in Publix's parking lot for some period of time, but they do it at other areas around Marvin, Weddington, and Waxhaw. But there was some discussion about Marvin, the Publix Pocket Park again, and we've had conversations in the past about is that a place where we could put potentially pickleball courts? Would that be a good place for, like, a sport court or something like that? Or is Marvin Eford a better location? Those are the things that we as council kind of start to have to kind of bat around once we formally get a conversation about it, which I'm anticipating will be our August meeting. I'll be able to update you the day after that, and we'll go from there.
Hey, John, do you get, I mean, maybe it's too early, but do you get a sense of any appetite from the council about doing kind of a joint with the Weddington Waxhaw communities too at all? Or maybe that's not gotten far enough on there. Is that a?
I don't know yet. That is something that we at a council level have discussed as well. It always gets a little bit funny though when you start, because the thing is always going to be in one area, and not only do you get into who pays to build it, who pays to maintain it, you also get into liability aspects of it and things like that.
Parking.
Parking issues, so
Maybe that.
it's always something that kind of has to be measured. We're actually looking into other areas of cooperation with some of those neighboring, like Waxhaw and Weddington. We've even had discussions. We've had issues with getting a new asphalt contract for some of our road resurfacing and things like that. So there's even been conversations and discussions with Waxhaw, who does some more of that stuff on their own. They have greater responsibilities for it and a larger, a population there. So would we contract with somebody like Waxhaw, to do some of our things? But again, all those same issues of cost, liability, things like that all end up having to be worked through in these kind of interlocal agreements, and we'll see where some of those discussions go. But I think one of the things that would be interesting and kind of along the lines of what Tom was looking to speak with today about working with the private different groups and things like that, there may be some of those that we might choose to partner with as well, on some of these type things, where you have more of a public-private partnership, so.
Okay. John, and then this kind of goes into your council report updates from you. I know you had a long meeting last night. I didn't think so.
Yeah, I think I updated you on a number of the issues that would affect PRG. The one thing that I would say, because I know everybody's aware that there was the rezoning hearing for the Scott Lett property, and that does include a component where they would include part of the connectivity that would go from that roundabout and potentially where the Heritage at Marvin is, where we're talking about the trail, and I do have a little bit of an update on that. But that was not approved last night. So
Can you go back and explain? So that was approval of the type of usage for that land? Or what
it was approval for a zoning change that would have changed it from rural residential to a special heritage district designation, because it is within and part of the heritage district. So that's what they were looking to have it rezoned to. The proposal was for 24 homes on 24 acres. And currently their by right under rural residential is really one home on 2.5 acres. Now, council, prior council had kind of put that rural residential designation into place to have a seat at the table with some of these, rezonings and things like that. which, last night's meeting, served that intended purpose. But at this point, at least from what the applicant said, is that without the approval last night, they likely may move forward with what their by right opportunity is, which could include some duplexes,
They have by rights, I'm sorry, just to understand, they have by rights even though it was zoned as rural?
Correct.
residential?
Even as rural residential, they have some rights to develop that property. It would change the nature of it. It would probably take away the pond that we've all seen that's in there.
So it's on the right side, or it's on the side by Meadowlark, or the other side?
It's on the opposite side of the Heritage at Marvin,
That's so
on the
big
other side
pond
of
that you're talking
Meadowlark
about that
Lane.
potentially is close to our path.
Yeah, and there was certainly a lot of opposition from Meadowlark homeowners. It's just now we're in kind of a waiting pattern to see if the applicant, Jones Homes, does provide a by right plan, or they would have to go through that whole kind of rezoning process again if they wanted to come with another different type of project. And Lucas, am I describing everything here properly?
Yeah, I think you got all the major points from it.
Yeah, it's just without the conditional rezoning, as part of the conditional rezoning process, that's where we can work with a developer so that
Right.
they can say, yeah, we're gonna put in this greenway or a trail, or we're gonna save this amount of trees and things like that. Under a by right, yes, they have to do tree mitigation, but other than 20-foot buffers around the whole thing,
They're only constrained by what's already in the
they're only
ordinance for
constrained
that-
by the
for that zoning.
ordinances
So whatever
themselves.
rural
So-
residence
Okay,
zoning
so-
allows,
So
they can
rural
do.
residence zoning
So
does
whether
allow
or not a by right plan would still include along Newtown Road or something, for the connectivity, that would be kind of up in the air now.
Okay. So is it kind of reversed back to by rights, or has it always been by rights? I guess that was.
They've always had by right
I got you.
opportunity
I
to
see, but
develop
we
that
were trying to go
property. So-
towards this conditional zoning where we, okay, but that
Yeah.
was turned down, and so now we have the by rights, but by rights does allow duplex in the rural residential?
It does. North Carolina state statutes essentially define in their building codes a single-family home. They include duplexes in that, so, yeah, but
That's the reason.
not to get too much into
Okay,
the other
thank you.
things that
So
are out.
we're actually, I think so we're back here.
It could have an effect on some of the things that we've talked about, that project in the past regarding tree save, dedicated open space and the strip of property that the trail might go through. All that being said, we did provide approval for Heritage at Marvin. Hunter, if you want to kind of just discuss the quote that we got.
For the trail?
Oh, the trail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get it pulled back up. So, we've been soliciting for, quotes for the Heritage of Marvin Trail to complete that. As many of you guys know, we always typically only get one quote. We've gotten that one quote so far, from Blue Ridge Trail Works. He quoted this because there's, the actual platted current easement, I think, is roughly 1,300 linear feet, but we're looking to kind of relocate and kind of shift it out towards the area that's dedicated for the park. So he's quoted it basically between a 1,300 to 1,500 linear feet trail. And the original development had it a 5-foot wide natural surface trail. So he's quoted that between 22.1 and 25.5. And
Which is within the fee in lieu that we previously collected.
however, some of the comments that we received from some of the residents they wanted it paved. I don't think it's feasible to have it paved. It was never intended to be paved. But then they asked for it to potentially at least match the same width as the asphalt portion, which is 8 feet wide. So I had him quote that same linear feet for an 8-foot wide, and it's 32.5 to 37.5.
But besides the width, having it asphalted is much more hazardous environmentally, right? I mean, I'm sure they didn't process that or care.
I mean, yeah, like
I get their point, but
Since the, yeah, and with
Gonna
it
take down a
being,
lot more trees by doing that.
correct, and with it being more of that little just kind of last portion that runs down Meadowlark, I don't think asphalt makes a lot of sense. I think it's different when it's along the Newtown Road frontage, which that one, like I said, is already paved. So I don't think council has any intent to spend more money on the asphalt portion anyway.
Yeah,
So the first half,
it was originally planned, that portion of it as a natural one, you know, that's what we had seen previously and so forth. And again, you start to get into the breadth of the easement, you know, it stays the same, but you're affecting trees and roots and things like that much more when you're putting asphalt in than the natural.
Absolutely. And that's what I was getting at. You said it better.
And you're also creating more impervious surface.
Exactly.
but we do have the impervious up, and, I mean, so I'm just trying to picture it, so you're gonna be riding along an asphalt trail and then come to an end. I'm just thinking, if you're a cyclist and you're going around, what happens then? Is it gonna be a
Well,
surface
you are
that's-
going to have an option, because where that asphalt trail currently ends is in an area that's supposed to connect more up to Newtown Road at the roundabout
Okay, I can picture
and
that,
so
yes,
forth.
okay.
So,
But you can't loop back into their neighborhood. I mean, I'm saying you can, you'd just be changing surfaces, right?
Correct.
If,
You can, well, no, it does loop back into their neighborhood asphalt portion.
okay, before you hit the, okay.
yeah,
The
they're right where it kind of ends currently, there is an asphalt that goes into their streets.
Okay.
That ends up going all around Newtown and so forth, so yes. But then the natural is like kind of think of a roundabout, it's an extra spur that would
back
come
to the
off that,
neighborhood, okay.
and then come around.
So let me, does that, the new one, the new trail, does it then connect back into their neighborhood too, right? Where
Yeah,
the
at the
sewer
end-
easement is that?
At the end of a cul-de-sac.
Okay, but
yeah.
it connects through the sewer easement, that's
It
pretty.
goes around
It goes up
the
there.
sewer
So they
easement and
can
then-
just do the loop.
Correct, and I know, the day that we walked it, I know that you had to leave,
Yeah, so I didn't get to the end.
but what they discussed is they want, because obviously, and we heard this last night, that some of the Heritage at Marvin residents are walking down that sewer easement and walking down Meadowlark. And I think part of the intent is hopefully if we can get them on a dedicated trail, then we'll do that. But Jones Holmes also was going to look into the planting standards that can be planted for in the sewer easement and potentially try to do a row of evergreen screening to create that a vegetative barrier there. Once again, to keep people on the trail and don't wander down Meadowlark.
They're not coming through the sewer. I wouldn't walk on that myself right now with long pants. I mean, it's, you know, they're coming from the top.
The top.
Yeah, I mean, that's much safer.
Yeah.
They're coming from the asphalt side and then crossing onto Meadowlark down that way, I believe.
The connector, I'm just curious, because the Heritage Trail is asphalt that you can now, where it ends, and then you can turn into the Heritage neighborhood. Is that going to be considered still public access? Because.
Yes, it is. It's
Okay,
a
so-
publicly
because I know
dedicated.
we've had issues on other greenways that hit a community that you're not allowed to pull off. So, I mean, if I'm on my bicycle, can I turn into the Heritage, or now am I crossing it? That's still considered public access?
It's all public, and then the sidewalk in the neighborhood's also public. So
Okay,
it's,
So anywhere we own a road, the sidewalks
That's
are.
public
are
access.
public
If Marvin
access.
maintains those roads,
Okay,
yeah.
so maybe I'm taking a little detour, but a sidewalk is considered, what if it's a road that goes, a sidewalk that goes through a wooded area but not adjacent to a road, is that still considered a sidewalk? Or
So sidewalks that are abutting roads are things that Marvin has responsibility for and then would be considered public. There are situations where neighborhoods have some of their own internal trails, whether they be natural or whether they be paved.
Okay.
Those are not necessarily public trails. So some of those may connect to public sidewalks,
Okay.
but that trail that comes off it may still be a private trail, so. And-
So what you're saying here, though, this spur, this thing that comes off of the asphalt is a sidewalk that we maintain. It's not because I know I'm picturing some other areas where they're not, in other communities.
Yeah, that is public.
yeah, correct. It is, and if, I'll just do this real quick.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're not getting ourselves into a place where people are riding and now they have to turn around.
And all of this, where these things connect, is also an area where we have that 2 acres that was
That's a park.
donated to us
Oh,
to
that-
potentially
that's
do
the
something.
junction of the.
That's kind of the
Right,
junction
that
of it
little
right
light
there.
green bit.
Yeah.
This here is where this all, this is where the, okay, yeah.
This is the 2.2 acre, and there's actually a teeny bit across the street.
So asphalt goes to here, then this becomes the,
So the
that'll be the.
natural trail
Okay.
is through there, I
Just a
guess.
quick note, this is just a report from last night's meeting. If you guys want to have a really in-depth discussion on the Heritage Trail, you really need to amend your agenda.
Okay, okay, thank you. The sidewalk.
You
there
can
was-
do that, you just need to amend your agenda first.
Oh, right now then?
You can right now.
Okay. For the purposes, I make a motion to amend the agenda to continue the discussion on the Heritage Trail? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Since we've got a good discussion going, so.
I was trying to pull it up for you, but of course, our AV equipment doesn't want to work.
Well, it is kind of, makes sense to what we do.
Yeah.
The original, I remember, when I first joined the board, was, this was my first development meeting, and the idea was that the trail portion that was adjacent to the road that most closely imitated a sidewalk
Yes, yeah.
be paved,
You pay, which is what it is
because
today.
that
yeah.
is more like a sidewalk, and
Right.
you would
And
want.
it goes around
Yes.
here.
And
You
more
can see that,
mobility
right.
was,
Yes.
Trying to get it pulled up, but.
you know, more emphasized,
Gotcha.
but that the internal trail, essentially, the trail that,
Here.
yeah, exactly, would be natural because it was sort of a balance between
Okay.
the environmental considerations
Yeah.
and mobility.
And it may, I'm
Yeah,
just trying to see
Hunter's
where
not able to
where it
pull it up,
connects in.
but if you would just
I
share
don't,
what you're looking at.
I don't know exactly,
There-
but probably
the-
this thick line
maybe
right
that thick
here.
line's a sidewalk then, okay. That's
Well,
probably-
because that would be a break between two properties.
Yeah, and that's why I was just questioning, is that a sidewalk, because it's between two properties? So that's, so-
If you could just share that, just show it to Michael and.
Oh, yeah, sure, so
Deb.
this is the, I know it's really small, this is the Greenways piece, but, so the trail goes around, which is the paved part, and then this is where the little the pocket park is, and down here is where the
New trail.
the new trail. I guess the question I had is, there's a dark line here which looks to be the sidewalk that connects into,
Yes,
and that's why I was asking, is it a sidewalk because it goes between two homes? It's not adjacent.
it's actually considered part of the green.
Yeah, and
It is.
it's within an easement.
Okay, that is,
paved, that's already installed, so this portion, I should have pulled up. But so basically, that's remaining, so you have, this is all paved, and then it tees in down here. So we would tie in from here and come around and loop it into the cul-de-sac. The easement, the platted easement along these is like right on the back of this property line, so that's where, as Christine was mentioning, like we would kind of
Really
come
need to
up
push it off.
to come up towards this, because this area is dedicated to the village. So we kind of come up and kind of loop it around, and that's why the linear footage gets.
And it was probably close to that property on the plat because we didn't have the full roundabout plan and where it was going to lay, so.
On top of the grade and certain elements of that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's kind of a big bank there
Yeah.
as well.
okay, thank you. Okay. And then one other question I had is on the access point. So obviously, if you're in the Heritage neighborhood, it's easy to access. So folks from Meadowlark, would they walk down the street and then enter into the Greenway from the neighborhood? I mean, if they wanted to access it, how would they walk to the Greenway, down the road?
From Meadowlark?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, they could just walk down that road.
and then they can just walk into the
Yeah,
neighborhood?
they'd have to go to where Newtown meets the roundabout.
Oh, they can't get into it from the Heritage neighborhood?
From everything we've heard, they don't want access.
Yeah, they don't want access there.
Okay.
I mean, they.
Well, no, that's fine, so I understand, so it's closed off here, so that you would walk down the street to, okay, because someday there might be somebody who wants to
That's where the
take that
sewer,
walk.
that's where the sewer easement
Okay.
is. So, we're just gonna let the grass keep growing tall,
Okay.
and that's what we were talking about, whether there was some vegetation at the.
And yeah, and as John mentioned, like the long-term goal vision of this, and somewhat of it was being proposed as part of that rezoning last night. And it's still not, when I say still potentially, I'm not saying the rezoning, I'm just talking about the trail connection. The goal would be to potentially have a crossing, have an easement along the frontage of the Lett property to then cross along Newtown, to get to the interior side of Newtown and Marvin Road to where they would have further connection to the loop. That's like the long-term plan. Once again, comes down to the funding and easement acquisition in certain elements, but that's kind of, once again, it's how we build out our trail network. So I mean, a piece at a time. And this was one that was, developer went ahead and installed their portion, and on hopes that we would have that connection sooner rather than later.
I do think there is the opportunity too with, like, once you have that there with the roundabout, albeit you have to get across the roundabout, because the preserve neighborhood access point to the preserve trail, if you go down that, the Marvin Road side, that's the closest point to get onto connecting to the park, right?
Correct.
I mean, with the absence of having the Marvin Loop complete, that's still a kind of an, I'm just saying, it's probably important to start showing how close you are to accessing other greenways from.
And that could be something like from a funding element. So right now with what we have funded for the Marvin Loop, we've had to reduce the scope because of cost from the entrance of the preserve here through the adjoining property here, around Village Hall, all the way to the Methodist Church property line with the Marvin Grove Zepsa property. But you bring up a good point, you know, instead of potentially looking at trying to then get it from there all the way to the preserve, you know, one element, because we do have that the existing greenway in the preserve, we could look at if it's something that we self-fund or look at some grant opportunities to actually just have it go from the existing paved portion to the preserve up to the roundabout, which would build still a portion, but then that could get connectivity for Meadowlark, for the Heritage at Marvin, for any potential subdivision on the Let property to the preserve to then access that would create them a walkable route to Village Hall.
Right, it's a safer route now because you're not even on Newtown Road. I mean, 'cause if you walk within there, and what I'm talking about is the path here. If you keep walking, you'll hit the other side of the preserve and you're kind of.
Golden Bell.
Yeah, and you're buffered from the road, but that's the closest access point to the new Heritage Trail, so that, again, just.
Well,
consideration.
and the other thing that development might affect is the original plans that they had were for some access off of Meadowlark. As they move forward with by right or any other plan, they may still have to consider the ingress egress for that neighborhood off of Newtown
Okay.
versus off of Meadowlark. So there's still kind of a lot of things up in the air
Not
that
get
are.
across the street very easily is what you're saying to get to the other path.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that update. Any questions? So the direction sounds like they're going to go with the impervious piece. You've got that within the funding today.
I mean, and like I said, really, I mean, I guess since this is an agenda item now, but I mean, John, you tell me your thoughts, is that, obviously at the 5 foot in width, which is what was originally planned for the subdivision on the original construction documents, all that stuff, it's within the funding constraints that we received for a fee in lieu. Was there any interest in going wider? I mean, there is a funding element to that, and that's ultimately going to be a council decision, but I guess does PRG have a preference or a recommendation on a 5 versus an 8 foot wide trail?
5. I prefer 5. I mean, I'm kind of surprised people were asking for pavement and wider. Usually people want them to be as unobtrusive
I think
as
they
possible.
wanted it to match what was already there.
Well, I think if
is
it
part of
switches material.
Right, if you're on a
Yeah.
bike trail, you don't want it to be too narrow, or because you're gonna, but that's.
But when you switch to natural material, I think switching width makes sense.
Yeah, that's,
So, I mean,
5, that's what was expected, I mean, that's what was planned.
planned, budgeted.
Yeah, I think the 5 foot for the natural trail and, you know, I don't know that you're going to get the same traffic that you may get some other areas of Marvin overall where you have people passing each other constantly. But I think the 5 foot, and also we're really trying to be sensitive as we kind of tried to lay out how we kind of weave in and out between any of the larger trees and stuff. You know, I think the 5 foot would probably be adequate for what we're looking to do there, but, you know, if we want to provide some guidance, you know, right now to what we're going to see back when Hunter, you know, looks for the formal quotes, because that's the next stage is he puts it out to bid, and whether we get one or multiple other quotes and so forth, you know, I think council feels comfortable, at least with the money being within what was originally budgeted with the 5 foot, but unless anybody here feels differently.
No, I don't see the need to spend additional money to take out more trees,
And
accommodate a wider trail.
And the last thing I'll mention on that, and I know some of the new homeowners that are along that portion, have conveyed, potential supplemental plantings or something for some screening. And I know, Christina, you and I have talked about this. We're trying to find where the goal is, one, village not have to spend money on trees. We do have some that were donated to us from the Arbor Day Foundation. They're babies, but, could be some type of opportunity there. But the other thing we're looking at is trying to maybe, in partnership, if it's with Habitat Builders or Trees Union, and getting those HOAs involved, of trying to do some type of thing where it doesn't require village money. So we're looking at that. I mean, it is a pretty vegetative area. It is good. I mean, obviously during the winter, there are certain elements where they need to increase some of the opacity there. And that's still something I can also work on the developer with, because they have to meet a 95% opacity requirement before they get closed out anyway. So there's
95% opacity? Yeah, not even close. And it's a 100-foot buffer. And you can see straight into people's houses, and I can tell you what they're watching on TV. And it's a 100-foot buffer in the summer.
I'm gonna work with Jones and try to see. It's just because that was an undisturbed buffer, and then where they did the grading, and if there is opportunity to potentially try to get a row of evergreens along the back of the property lines on the common open space, I'm gonna try to push for that.
And you've mentioned that a couple of times. My only comment on that is native ones, and there are plenty of them. There's not a million, but there's plenty, enough. Not a bunch of Leland cypress that are gonna die in a couple of years, one at a time, like a bunch of snaggleteeth. Or just, that monoculture of something. I can give you a list if you want. And it would look more like a natural buffer instead of, this row that we tend to do, hopefully.
Yeah, and Bob Nunnenkamp also brought up a good point last night when we were discussing this. It doesn't always have to be trees, because of the fact that, there's some elevation change where the trail is up higher. You might be able to do it with hedges or bushes that are natural and evergreen and things like that.
Absolutely, and that would be part of my list, because some of our shrubs get almost as big as a tree. And frankly, a tree, if you think about it, a 30-foot tree is not much opacity, right? It's the trunk, unless it's a tulip poplar. And they're lower. But so some of that shrubbery stuff and some of our trees from the Arbor Day group are in fact shrubs.
Yeah,
kind of.
and like I said,
And smaller trees.
I think that's, an opportunity. Like, there are some nice magnolias and stuff in that area that do provide some good screening, but yeah, there are some definitely gaps.
I'll send you a list.
Okay.
Because, on the trees piece, and it's a little diversion from and I don't want to go off topic, on the trails, we do have that surplus of trees, correct, that we're supposed to find. And I think I'd like to, maybe it's the next meeting agenda item for the fall, is we do have portions of the Marvin Loop that exist today that are pretty open and exposed along, right out here, right along Marvin School Road. So is that an initiative that we need to take to say, where is the opportunity to start filling in some of the exposures on the current greenways with those trees?
So, real quick, because I know we're talking about heritage, and I don't want Austin to get mad at us, because this is actually something I was going to try to, I don't have an update anymore, but I was going to bring up in event planning regarding Arbor Day.
Already passed event planning.
Suspend the rules. Well, is it okay if I just briefly mention something real quick? Okay, so two things. So one, like everything you're saying, Christine and I met with, we had our state representative from the NC Forestry Service. He's basically the Arbor Day Foundation coordinator for the state. He came, 2-3 weeks ago, met with him, and one of the long-term visions I have, especially from our Tree City USA initiatives and stuff like that, is you have opportunities at the existing park. You have plantings opportunities along the Houston Ross Park here, like along where you can still have your lawn area, but still along, the path, as well as the Marvin Loop. And that's something that I want to start working with the board and kind of develop a conceptual planting plan for some of these areas. And obviously, coordinate with Keith, because we do have trees at the park that will be planted. But this is also an opportunity where over the next 5-7 years or something like that, this is kind of laying down the foundation for us to keep our Tree City USA accreditation for, planting trees in public spaces and opportunity for programming for educational events and service days. And so I'm going to be really relying on your guys' expertise and input there. But yeah, that's all stuff that I have planned. We just have to, and that's maybe something I'll get on your guys' August agenda to start conceptually talking about. And like I said, I don't want to start too big. I know I mentioned all those. We identified about 3 or 4 different locations at the park that I think have a great opportunity to do plantings where, one, it can reduce the amount of turf and stuff that Public Works is maintaining, but an opportunity to also make it look and feel good, where you still have some areas that it's not just like woods, it's still areas where you have shade coverage and stuff. There's also great opportunity along the park, now that it's paved, Park Road, to plant some
Shade
trees.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
And so working on kind of getting a conceptual plan for the park, for the Houston Ross Park, as well as the Marvin Loop. I think that's kind of maybe the 3 key areas that we can look at. And like I said, there's going to be a funding element to that, but at the same time, if we get trees donated or certain things like that, that's kind of the goal of this.
2 things about, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one thing, though, that's important to keep in mind, oftentimes our easements are within a broader common area of like an HOA or something like that, right? And it may be a wooded area, similar to Heritage Marvin. When we start talking about us planting trees as a village, we can only plant in our easement. We can't plant in the HOA common areas and stuff. And just keep in mind, when you're doing that, a lot of times you're under the trees and you're not getting light and things like that. So where people want screening, which is like the edge of the woods, and where it can actually grow and thrive to become screening, we got to be careful when we're thinking about it, because a lot of time that's not accessible to the things that we can do, because we can't improve private properties or HOA common areas or things like that. We can only improve within our easements.
But I feel like we can work around that if we work with them.
Correct.
Right,
If we
okay.
work with them, trees are donated from Arbor Day. They have their own such group of volunteers, so it's not our people putting
Which is
things
even
in.
better idea, right? That we're working together like that. 2 things about trees donated. How many trees are we supposed to plant a year to keep our Tree City status?
There's no set amount.
Okay.
Last year we did 1. Well, I think I technically actually included the ones that,
So we're gonna do 140 this year.
yeah, I think I included, did some planting somewhere else.
You could probably count the elementary school trees.
I think I maybe did, and I
Yeah.
think I got that confirmed, but.
We'll always do those.
But yeah, I've looked at some other communities, like I know, once again, I live in Huntersville. I know Huntersville last year for their Arbor Day celebration did a massive planting day in one of their parks and planted 100 and some trees, and so it's really how big we want to push this, and just once again, thinking about volunteer time and staff time and all that, but ultimately I want to build out that roadmap, because I think
Yeah. And
we can build out a roadmap, and then that can give us an idea, okay, hey, if we want to plant, if we want it for our Arbor Day celebration, which is once again on October 24th, more details to
Be
come.
there.
Had to plug that in there. My thought is over time, if we kind of build out this plan, maybe 1 year, we plant 20 to 30 trees to try to achieve, to try to accomplish some of those plantings. So yeah, we'll put that on your August meeting, and have some further conversations and start talking about the Arbor Day celebration in October and get some programming concepts done.
Well, between now and then, I will work up a couple of the plans that we've talked about.
Okay.
So Arbor Day may do what they did this year and offer trees, and we we get 100 of them free again, who knows? And the scout troop will continue to water them. Second thing, though, that's going on, and I don't know the current status, but Trees Union now has a tree nursery area that can hold up to 800 trees, 7-gallon size trees. Now, do they have 800 trees? No, they don't. But they're working on it, and those trees will be available to, people in Union County. How that all works with us, I don't know yet. It's very early days, but they have the space now at the Ag Center. It's huge. So that is their plan, is to start a native tree nursery over there. So that's cool.
I hate to interrupt, but you're going to need to amend your agenda again.
I'm just saying for trees, that's all.
I think the recommendation then is from from Hunter to then kind of create it, and I don't know what is the right term, working group, a focused area around Arbor Day with input from PR&G to help take some lead on planning. And I think there's an opportunity even for this year's Arbor Day to address those kind of priorities. So should we take that as a next item agenda for August, but also in the meantime, maybe Christina and I and you, Hunter, pull up or do something like that so that we have more of some plans
Yeah.
to talk about in August?
I think that's good, yeah. Like I said, for your August agenda, I'll put either one or two agenda items, depending on how Austin wants me to do it, but definitely talk Arbor Day, because I want to start getting the event planning portion of that completed, so we can advertise it. But then the second part of that is kind of like the public tree planting kind of concept and plan. I mean, they go hand in hand. It's all part of Tree City USA, but yeah, we'll have, both of those on the agenda for the next meeting, and once we kind of get that concept plan down, I'll probably get with Keith, and Keith can come and also provide some input as well.
Cool, thank you. Anything else? I'm not going to anything else because our agenda item is covered now, but thank you for the time on that, and Austin for helping us get that put in.
Staying on track.
Okay, and John, your report was done, so any action items we need to review, Austin?
Christina, let's see here. I'm going to follow up with Angel, talking about the recommended date change and what the minimums for the event are. You're going to get me, you're going to come back to me with a design for this sign for the Preserve Trail entrance. Christina, you're getting me the final design for the native lands acknowledgement. I'm going to relay to Jill the information about having a PRG info table at National Night Out, but we'll be relying on you guys to set that up. And that's all I got.
Cool.
Okay. Any ongoing action item list? Those were the new ones, so anything else outstanding?
Everything else is good for now.
Okay, and then opening up for board member comments. Anyone have anything to add, speak to? Okay,
Do we have a date for the tree lighting?
It is tentatively in your calendars for Saturday, December 5th. We're not at that point yet.
But I can put it in there tentative.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, because I know that was probably because you're thinking of the market, is that right?
Well,
Or the-
I can't really contact anyone without a date or approval to add it.
We can put it on the next meeting's agenda. so.
Let's do that, okay.
Yeah. Before you know it, right?
It's,
Yeah.
Not even possible.
Yes, okay. All right, if there's no other comments, then I would like to make a motion to adjourn today's meeting at 10:26. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Just hit motion to conclude afterwards. Okay. I've got to get that AV guy's got to come back in here and